What's up you guys, this is Rob from A Gay Guy Plays, and today on Dress to Kill, we are going to be taking a look at all of the Captura scenes that are available for purchase in-game. Which ones are worth it, which ones aren't worth it, as well as some of my favorite picture-taking spots for you to capture the moment. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you, this is actually the second time that I'm recording this video. After about an hour and a half straight of talking last night and straining the crap out of my voice, the file ended up corrupting because I did not have enough space on the drive. So just know that this is going to be a little bit of a longer video, and that is why I have decided to actually remove the default Captura scenes specifically for this portion, because of the fact it is going to be a long video and you guys can actually take a look at those yourself. There are some amazing vignettes within those scenes, which I'll probably touch on very quickly, but I did want to give you a little heads up on the structure. So we're going to move from Syndicate scenes into the Grenier Forest scenes, and then we're going to save kind of like the quest scenes for last, mainly because of the fact that they may contain spoilers, and I don't necessarily want to put anyone through that doesn't want to be put through that. So just keep that in mind if you haven't completed the Sands of Anaros quest, the Chains of Harrow quest, and the Octavius Anthem quest. We will be covering those scenes at the very end, so I'll give you guys a bit of a spoiler warning before we jump into that, okay? So before we get really started, let me go ahead and highlight the default scenes for you guys to give you a little bit of a heads up on the ones that we currently do have available. So we have the Corpus Ship Maintenance scene. This one is nice, it's pretty standard. There's only a couple places that I really like to take shots in there. However, there is a really cool middle area that is very wide open, so you'll be able to do a lot of aerials in there. There's also a couple spots in the corners which are nice and clean if you don't necessarily want to have too much craziness in the background, and there's some red barrels in there that you can destroy if you want to mess up the scene a little bit and make it a little look a little bit dirtier and grungier. Next we have the Grenier Galleon cargo scene, and this one is basically Hydron. If you've been to Hydron, the defense map that's nice and tightly clustered and great for leveling up, this is basically what it is. Again, there's some nice areas for you to get some good aerial things on, and this is the one that I probably use the most just to get some screenshots for the thumbnails of my videos. It's just a really easy place to go to. It's not too complicated or complex, and I like the warmth in the lighting that we have there. The last one is the Infested Ship hologram scene. This one, holy shit. There are so many places to explore here. There are so many different kinds of vignettes, because there's like the initial hallway that you get into with all of the really cool god rays, which feels very Corpus, but also feels very kind of like something happened to the Corpus, like this place is abandoned. But it's still very nice and clean in the Corpus aesthetic. Then you go into the hologram area where everything is very blue and very like Tron and illuminated. It's a very interesting scene. It almost feels slightly ghostly, but then if you round a corner, you have these crazy red pulsing areas that are just very infested and look very epic. This is one of those ones, like, listen, the Grenier Galleon cargo scene and the Corpus Ship Maintenance scene, alright. What you see is what you get with those, but the Infested Ship hologram scene is definitely one that you guys should explore every single corner of, because there are so many really nice areas, like nice little vignettes that you can kind of isolate out and say, oh, this looks very Corpusy, I can take a great Corpus shot here, or oh, this looks really infested, I could have a great infested shot here. And then there are certain areas that look really nice because it's almost like it's clean Corpus, but it's got a big window cut out into it that like looks all of this infestedness. It's absolutely fantastic. Definitely explore the crap out of that one. So let's kick things off with the Syndicate Captura scenes. These are all available after you've hit rank 5 with the associated Syndicate, and they all cost 100,000 standing in order to pick up. Now, do be aware that you can trade for these, so if you want to do a Syndicate swap with some of your friends in order to grab all of the Captura scenes, you can do that as well, or you can hit up Trade Chat in order to trade it for Platinum. The only thing that I kind of do want to give you guys a heads up, if you want to do your own preview just to see how you feel about them, you can actually go straight into the Syndicate rooms, because that's exactly what they are on the relays. So that's a little snapshot for you before ahead of time, but let's go ahead and jump in and analyze each one. Now, beginning with Steel Meridian, we have Cress's Garrison, and I'm going to be completely honest with you, I am super fond of this scene. You guys know that I like really warm colors, and it's basically ketchup and mustard, and both of them are quite warm if you think about hot dogs. Regardless, I really like the lighting in here. I love the mesh grates. I guess you would call them grates, but they're like nets. And I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I definitely kind of feel like everything looks more epic when you have banners. Now, the crown to this entire scene is Clem, of course, so you can actually take pictures with Clem, which is really adorable, and his little stack of Syndicate medallions. And we've got this epic scene over here with Crescent. Now, I do have to kind of point this out. This is one of my big points of contention with a lot of these Syndicate scenes, is sometimes I feel like having all of these people here are a little bit distracting to actually taking pictures. So it's not necessarily the greatest ever to have all of this buzz about. I wish there was almost kind of like, I know this sounds like vicious, but like a kill command. Now there are some safe places, like little vignettes where you can take a picture of, still get that garrison feeling, you know, from the Steel Meridian without necessarily having all of these people there. But you do kind of really need to watch your positioning in order to kind of crop out other existing beings if you want to do a really cool Captura scene. There's one spot that I really like up here too that you can kind of get into, are these little spots over here. They're really cool vignettes, and they're kind of like above everything else. So definitely check those out when you are in this scene. But this is definitely one of the better Syndicate scenes currently out there. Moving along to the Arbiters of Hexus, this is the Tribunal scene, and I do have to say this is probably like a big fan favorite, mainly because of the lighting. Again, epic banners just make everything feel super cool, but the lighting in this room is absolutely fantastic. However, I do feel that it is a bit limited in the spaces that you can kind of take a picture in. This is like one of your options. Over here with a backlight is another one of your options. You'd kind of have to like get lit this way. And those are really the only places that you can take. You might be able to sneak some cheeky side bits in here, but literally those are kind of like it. The room feels a little bit limiting, even though it does feel quite epic. I like it a lot for this one specific scene, but beyond, because it's just so impactful. It's really impactful. However, it is a bit limited. What you see is what you get, kind of like with the Arbiters of Hexus, a bunch of crazy, I don't know, path people. And I mean, they always do talk about the path, so apparently the path is just very straight and very narrow. Alright, so next up we've got Cephalon Suda in her datascape, and I'm going to be completely honest with you, this is the biggest letdown of all of the Captura scenes. This one absolutely breaks my heart. If you guys have not gone into the Syndicate room where Cephalon Suda is, I would almost pause the video here, stop the video here, just skip over all of this and go experience that room for yourself. However, I was really excited. I was like, ooh, I'm gonna get my hands on this really cool Captura scene, and then I used it and I was like, what the fuck is this mess, right? So straight out of the gate, this kind of bothers me over here that they have the leaderboards set up in there, because that is really distraction for pictures. I almost wonder if that gets cropped out when you use when you actually snap the shot itself. But this is the part that kills me. This looks great, and for those who know, yeah, there's no weird de-digitalizing effect to get you into the cool datascape, but you can walk through the wall. That breaks my mother. You don't know how much that breaks my heart. I hope DE kind of like tools around with that and kind of fixes it, because that does not make me happy from a fashion framing purpose. I don't know, like, listen, we have the color key room for that. We don't need all this, and I think that it would have made the room 10 times better, but unfortunately, that's pretty much it, and that's, DE, this is my favorite room, this is literally one of my favorite rooms when it just, like, it just fragmentizes. Fix it, please. Please. You're hurting my soul. Alright, so moving along to my Syndicate of choice, the Perrin sequence. You guys know I'm a big fan of Ergoglast, so there's definitely some bias in this room, but I'm gonna be straightforward with y'all. This is one of my least favorites, just because I don't know what it is about it, but it always feels like it's the busiest. It feels like it's the most cramped and has the most people in it, so it's hard to kind of like isolate out shots to to kind of crop people out. I mean, that's a pretty good shot right there. And of course, there is Mr. Ergoglast, the man of the hour himself, with this epic like boardroom table. I really, really love this table. I just wish I could kill command everybody here just so that I could have it all to myself. They've got little cool mugs on there too, like they've been partying. So I love this scene. I really love all of the lighting in here because it's just so like futuristic and really like almost Tron meets the Matrix. I love it, love it, love it. However, I don't love how crowded it feels, and I'm just kind of like, can we evacuate the boardroom? I'm trying to take some Captura pictures. This is really, really upsetting me right now. However, I mean, if you don't mind having people in your shots, you can get some epic lighting like that. However, beyond that, it really does make me a little bit sad at how hard you have to work in order to make people disappear from your pictures. That sounds like I'm trying to murder people. That's not what I'm trying to do. But it is a little bit frustrating when you want to get a really clean shot and you've got, I don't know, someone doing something weird in the background. So, just my 2 cents. Okay, so you know how I said I had like Syndicate bias? This one really, really hurts my soul because I'm not a fan of the Red Veil whatsoever. I think that they're all like crazy terroristic momos, but I have to give it up to them because this is, at least in my opinion, the best Syndicate scene to pick up. This one is absolutely freaking epic. I mean, just look at these. Remember when I said banners? They got like ceiling to floor banners and the texture on them is marvelous. Like just look at that. And look, I can isolate out a gorgeous shot without people. Like they got all their people in the back. They didn't need anybody up front because they got flames to tell people that they mean business. And you can get some fantastic shots just in the first area itself. Now, if you like Halloween-y things, if you like dark and scary things, this is definitely going to be one of the cool places to take pictures in. It's really, really epic. It just feels epic. And again, like I was saying, it's really fantastic for isolating shots where you don't necessarily have people in the background, but you can get really cool, like just thematic, intense pictures in here. It is one of my favorites, and you know, just in case you're feeling a little dirty, you can go ahead mount yourself a little Grenier person if you're into that kind of thing. Regardless, this is definitely one of the ones that I think you guys should pick up for sure. Moving along to another Syndicate that I am not super fond of, the Scary Teeth Syndicate, also known as New Loca. This is Amaran's Retreat, and I have to say, this is one of those scenes that really makes me wish I had a kill command just to like get rid of all of the NPCs in here, because it's a gorgeous, gorgeous scene that is ruined by a crowd of people. And you know, I just want to put this out to you. There's only one other scene in game that has waterfalls like this, at least from my recollection. And this jerk right here is like right in my goddamn way in front of the waterfall. I don't want you in my picture. You're a stranger. Listen, this is like I'm on vacation and there are strangers in front of the beautiful goddamn monument and you're ruining it all for me, and it hurts my soul. Because there are some really good spots. However, if you really wanted to do it, there's some nice spots right here to kind of give you that jungle theme. Because here's the thing, not everybody is either gonna have the plats to grab yourself an earth forest scene, because you know a lot of them are going to be found in the market. Maybe you don't necessarily have the luck either or the time to go hunting for one, and this is kind of like one of the few scenes where you can kind of mimic some of those effects without necessarily having to go and just farm forever and ever on earth in order to go grab those scenes, or you know, drop some plat on it. There are a couple spaces like here and here where you can kind of isolate things out and it doesn't necessarily look like there are people on there. However, the rest of this scene is a little frustrating. Like, what are you doing? Can you not? You're just strange. Regardless, it would be beautiful and wonderful. This right here is gorgeous, but we got Crazy Teeth Lady in the background just standing there like a creeper. We know that she's gonna try to eat us and it disturbs me. Regardless, this is one of those ones that make me cross my fingers. Please DE possibly a kill command so that we don't have to see them in the room. Maybe it's a little too complicated. I don't know your coding. Regardless, it's beautiful. if there weren't people in there. Alright, now I know some of y'all are rolling your eyes, but technically this does count as another syndicate, or maybe it counts as like a faction. I don't know, but you get standing for it, so that's why I'm counting it in this. But this is Teshin's Refuge, and this is one of my favorite scenes out of all of them, to be completely honest with you. There's some really unique things. First off, it's kind of snowy, it's kind of frosty, and I love the dome that you get in the background. There's some really nice framing that you can get like right here, and you don't really see Teshin in the background. You can just swap up some lighting, just drop down that grain, and you can toss on your own, like, you know, 3 lighting scheme, which can be absolutely amazing. Now I do know that I kind of like said that I don't like people in the background, but these like ghostly specter things, I think they're cool, right? They don't really count as people. Maybe they're dead people. Maybe they're just spirits. I don't know. I don't really count them as NPCs because they're not as like in your face. They look wispy. So it's fine by me. He's got all of these cool lanterns. I love just kind of like the visual, the aesthetics of this scene. And things get clearer as you go up. Again, it hurts my soul because Teshin is standing in the spot I would want to take a picture of the most. I'm like, listen, can we just crop you out? Because this would be like an ex-boyfriend scene where we just slice you out of the picture yourself because you don't need to be in there. But I wish that we could get this kind of framing for our Warframes by themselves. Mainly because, and I know this is something weird, I don't know if you guys, maybe I might be wrong about this. I'm going to call it a maple tree. Maybe it's like a Japanese maple, something along those lines. But I don't think we have trees with red leaves anywhere on any of the earth tile sets. So this is kind of like unique to this one specific area, and I think it's gorgeous. The only other red plants that we've really seen are when DE gave us those gorgeous ferns, then quickly snatched them away from us. Yes, I'm still bitter about that. But we've got some cool little waterfall-y areas over here, which is really, really nice because, you know, we can't take pictures with Amarin because there's just way too goddamn many people there. But this is another great place to kind of like frame out another shot for yourself as well. It's got enough height in it, kind of like the other Syndicate rooms didn't necessarily have as much height as this room does, so you can get some good kind of like jumping action shots in there if you really, really wanted to. However, I think it's really unique, it's really different. There are some great places you can kind of like isolate out shots for, which work really, really well. So lots of good vignettes. I know it's a bit of a pain to grab yourself some standing when it comes to Conclave, because not everybody's necessarily a fan of it, but it's definitely one of those, if you can get your hands on it somewhere in the market, you should definitely go and do it. It's worth it. Alright, so the next one up that is also available from the Conclaves is the Loon Arrow scene, and I get it, not everybody is going to have as much love for this scene as I personally do, and many of you guys are going to think it's a waste. However, if you have not tried Loon Arrow, it is my favorite PvP mode, so please go out, play with it, experiment, but also be nice to each other, because I've heard some reports of people being jackasses to each other when playing Loon Arrow, so be nice. There is one thing that I do want to point out with the scene that is a little bit different from the rest of the scenes, and this actually pulls from your PvP setups. I don't really know how much that affects, you know, that'll have like an effect on you guys, but I'm just putting that out there into the universe that it will pull from that specific loadout and not your actual main loadout. So keep that in mind. And it also does something that kind of peeves me a little bit. When I first recorded all of these Captura videos, these ones are actually, I wanted to do it all with Mini Titania, and I'm going to be doing it with some of the other bigger scenes just because we need to move around in a 3D space. But it does something that none of the other scenes do, and that is just pull you out of that mode. I don't know what it is. The rest of the Captura modes kind of allow you to have your toggles on forever and ever. This is the one that doesn't. It's weird, but I thought that you guys should know. Not that you're gonna pick up this scene, but putting it out there in the universe. So the final Syndicate scene is actually the color key room, which is available from Cephalon Samaris. Now, I'm gonna be completely honest with you, I'm a little bit inept when it comes to things like this. I've been able to use it in OBS, but I'm not really good at using it elsewhere. So this is a little bit out there for some of the more creative people who know how to use like After Effects and I don't know, other programs that do other cool things, which you can actually do in this one. And there's a couple different things that you can do in this one that you couldn't do with the other scenes. Is you can change the room color, which will help you kind of color key out certain things so that it's a little bit easier for you to tweak, which is really, really nice. And you can also actually summon, ooh, let's get out of here real quick. You can actually go ahead and spawn enemies in this room, which is not something that you could do in the previous Syndicate rooms. None of them were able to do that, not even the Loon Arrow one, which you would think, it's like PvP. It's like a combat area, you should be able to spawn enemies there, but unfortunately you can't. This is the first one that you can actually spawn enemies into when it comes to kind of like the Syndicate stuff that are not like quest related. So definitely keep that in mind. It's something useful to have for the more creative people out there that know how to use this kind of stuff. Unfortunately, I'm not that person, so I haven't used this since, but just know that the option is out there. So the next three are the Grenier Forest scenes. These are all available from rare crates on Earth, so definitely keep your eye out for them while you're on that tile set. However, they are also tradable just like the rest of the scenes, so if you really, really want them, and I've noticed because I've, been on trade chat a lot trying to grab myself some Capturas, is that there do seem to be a lot of them, or a decent amount of them, available for sale. So if you're interested in any of those ones that you see, either go out and start farming on Earth, or start farming in trade chat. Alright, so the first of the three scenes is the Grenier Forest Factory scene, and this one is by far my favorite. We're actually going to jump in a little razor wing action here so that you guys can take a better look at it, but this is one of the two daytime scenes that we have on Earth, and this one is just majestic. This is far bigger than the Syndicate ones that we've seen, so you get a little bit more space to move around, and there are tons of really cool vignettes to be had. As you can see, there's a great shot right there. You can turn around and boom, there's another great shot right there. The Forest Factory scene is probably one of my favorites because of the fact that we have a little Hobbiton hole right here, which is definitely, like, I kept seeing this and I'm like, that's literally a Hobbit house, right? They know that they made a Hobbit house, right? So you can actually take a picture going into the Hobbit house, which is really cool, or a really nice framed scene coming out of it. As you can see right here, we've got nice circular framing out into the forest of Earth, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. Here we also have a little bit of like industrial tech, but it's not as much as the industry scene, which we'll be taking a look at next. But this is the big old waterfall. This is the big old waterfall, and it's a gorgeous place to take shots in. You can just kind of like set that up behind you and have a really nice earthy organic scene. It even puddles down. There's a nice little spot here that has violets somewhere. I know it's a really weird thing to be cognizant of, but in my brain, I'm like, there's a little patch of violets right here where the water is. I don't know why I remember that, but it's one of those things that I always keep in my mind. Now, it does not stop there. My next favorite spot is coming up, and it's this little area here. As you kind of go into it, it does not seem like much, but let's drop down and let's reverse. How fucking glorious is that? This is legitimately why this forest scene is one of my favorites. The other forest scenes, the other Grenier Forest scenes don't really have anything like with these as an epic god ray as that one, and a great kind of like, here's my little tiny, like, I don't know, what do you call this? Like little valley, little crater valley thing? I don't know, it's absolutely gorgeous. This one I cannot rave more about. If you like a lot of the kind of natural feel to the Earth tile sets, this is definitely the one that I'm going to suggest that you strongly pick up. Moving along, we have the Grenier Industry scene. Now, this one I actually really like for the tech, but I don't necessarily like for the Earth aspect of it. I don't know why, but for me, it feels very jungly. It feels a little bit dingier and less pristine than the Forest Factory scene, but if you're into kind of like jungle looking things, this is definitely the one that you should go to. It's got some interesting, I guess you would say, holes for you to explore. It sounds terrible when I say it like that, but literally when you kind of frame out certain areas, it looks far more jungly than the previous variant did. You get some cool banner action there. I can see that in the corner too, which is very, very nice. But you don't get, I feel like you don't get as many cool like natural spots as you do with the forest factory scene. However, the place where this really shines, at least to me, is the industrial stuff. Well, it is called the industry scene, so that would make a lot of sense, but a lot of the cool framing you get is with the actual Grenier tech, which is slightly overrun by the forest. As you can see here, there's some amazing framing when it comes to that, and this one is definitely my favorite part right here. I love, like, you know, we're talking about like the god rays from that one valley. This is my other favorite. Oh my god, it looks absolutely stunning. Of course, not as natural as the other one. This is really more focused on the tech, and the tech looks great in this. Even just coming down here and getting the god rays from above, it looks amazing and fantastic. Less foresty, but the tech kind of shines through really in this industry scene. You can have some clean areas too, because I know that some people don't necessarily like all of the mumbo jumbo, but as you can see, this is a nice little vignette where there's a lot of geometric pattern, there's a lot of repetition. You can kind of like angle it that way and get kind of like that really cool perspective if you want to take shots like that. Those are fantastic. I feel like the weaker part of this is the jungly outside areas, but you know what? Hey, that's to each his own. You can disagree all you like. You know, we don't have to have the same feelings on everything, but I really think that in this specific setup, the industry is really where it shines in the industry forest scene, which just kind of makes sense. So rounding out the Grenier scenes is actually the water pump scene. This one is the only scene that actually occurs at night. There's no day and night cycle, so you don't have to worry about that. The forest scene and the industry scene are always going to occur in the daytime. This is the only one that is a dedicated night scene. There's one thing that I didn't point out with any of these other ones before, is that you can actually spawn enemies on these tiles, on all of the Grenier forest tiles. Now, the interesting thing about this scene is, of course, you know, you get the water pump, you get some decent industry settings in here, a little bit of tech. There's some nice clean areas for you to take spots in. Do keep in mind, none of these zip lines work, which do hurt my soul just a little bit. I am kind of a fan of this spot right here because of the concentric circles. God, I can't say it right. And also, if you're in this spot right here, you can actually drop the exposure a little bit lower, and it almost seems like the tunnel goes even further than it actually does, which is pretty epic. I love this specific framing right here. One of the other ones that I do want to point out that make this scene a lot different from some of the other ones. So the forest scene, the forest factory scene was very kind of like meadowy, very planty, a little bit softer than the industry scene. The industry scene was very jungly. This one is actually very cavey. This is the only one where you're going to get cool stalactite, stalagmite looking kind of things. So if you're looking for a good scene where you can get some like, listen, I don't know why you would want stalactites or stalagmites in your scenes, but if you do, this is an option for you. I'm just putting it out there. Maybe you could bring Mag Prime in here and she can have her little miner's helmet and you can take some shots in there as well. But there are a couple little caves that work out like that, that have these stalagmite, stalactite things. So if you're into that kind of stuff, it's definitely a good thing for you to check out. This also does have a lot of airspace, as you can see up here, for you to do some action jumping shots in, which is absolutely fantastic. But I do have to point out that these scenes that this specific scene does not have very much more to it than what you already see. You get a couple holes for you to jump in and out of, you get this little area here, but beyond that, there's really not much more for you to play in. So in that aspect, it's a little bit of a letdown, but you know, if you like caves, this is definitely something for you to jump into, or if you like the night, it's also something you can play in. I don't know. Listen, I'm just telling you what it looks like, and it's a night scene with a lot of open air, and that's pretty much it. So now that we have wrapped up the Grenier Forest scenes, this is your official spoiler warning. I'm giving you a little bit of a heads up. If you have not completed the Sands of Anaros, the Octavius Anthem, or the Chains of Harrow quest, you might want to just end it right here. Now, I myself am not going to be talking about any quest spoilers themselves. themselves. I'm just going to be talking about the scenes mainly, but if you want a completely clean slate, because there are going to be some iconic visuals that are related to the quests, you might want to tune out now. However, for the rest of us who have completed them, we're going to go ahead and jump right in. So starting us off, we have the Inaro's Tomb scene. This one is actually available from Captura for 100,000 credits and 325 ducats. Now, I'm going to be a little bit of a stickler. I mean, I feel like I've been a little bit of a page throughout this whole video, but I'm really bitter at where they put that arsenal little blobule thing, mainly because of the fact that I really like to take shots right here. I love the geometry and how it kind of leads to forced perspective of that little door over there. I really liked it, and then they put the arsenal thing like right there. I'm like, oh, you hurt my soul. However, there are some fantastic vignettes that are to be had here. Like if you're looking for something along the lines of like a cool, what is it? Is it Mars? I think Mars has it now, not Phobos anymore. But if you're looking for like a cool Mars scene and you're looking for some of that kind of red canyon-y texture, you have this area out here that you can play around with and get some decent shots in if that's what you're looking for. However, the real star of the show, and I'm telling you right now, if you're into like the whole Halloween sets, this is definitely something that you can get into. We have the cool hieroglyphics here, but to my best knowledge, this is the only Captura scene that has spider webs in it. And they did the spider webs amazingly. They look so freaking epic. So I don't know, maybe if we ever get a spider themed frame, this is gonna be where you want to take pictures. I mean, just look at all the different vignettes that you can get from here. The spidery hallway, I absolutely love for taking shots in if you're looking for something very kind of like creepy and spooky. And then we have this main room here, which is great for anybody who's looking to get some elevation in their shots. If they want to, like, let's say perch themselves on a wall and do like a wall jump and try to catch a mid-action scene, this area is absolutely fantastic for that. I'm not sure how I necessarily feel about having a big Inaro statue like in the middle, but you know what? Give the man some love. He was the protector. So let's get into these side rooms over here. We have more of the really cool spider webby scenes, but we have these cool god ray shots on either of the side rooms, and I absolutely love that. It creates some real epicness when it comes to this area. We've got another room on the side which is pretty much the same thing, if I'm going to be honest with you, so it's not necessarily worth exploring, but it's good to know that it's there just in case you want it. I don't know why you would, but it's available. And then you do have this little pool area room over here. I don't know, maybe you want to have like a little spa day, but if you frame it just right, you can get some areas without the spider webs, because here's the thing, you can like spider webs, you might not like spider webs, so if that's not your thing, you can kind of crop them out of the shot as you like. I think this scene is definitely worth the price. It's definitely something that you should go ahead and check out if you get the time, just because of the fact that it does feel quite epic and it has some really good lighting, and if you like spiders and spider webs, this is definitely the Captura scene for you. Now, next up for the quest scenes is the Hun House Datascape, and this thing is kind of epic and also kind of a disappointment at the same time. So this is the last part of the Octavia's Anthem quest, and as dope as it looks, because it does really look absolutely amazing, it's a bit limiting. Like, you either get red sky background or you get a, digital Hunhow background. That's really your only two options here. There aren't too many vignettes that you can come with here. You either are gonna have one or the other as your background set, and you do kind of have to deal with this. So for those of you who don't know, these things pop up, and I mean, hey, listen, if you like that cool red digitized effect, you can totally use it for some of your videos, or some of your Captura scenes if you like that. However, it can be a bit of a pain if you accidentally set up a whole bunch of them. And another thing to note is that when that beam kind of goes by, I don't know, I mean, I'm sure everybody uses slow-mo in their Captura. You get that kind of like strike. It does, leave that note effect, that blue note effect in the background, and it kind of plays a note. Now, to some people's detriments, they might like leave a whole bunch of these down and you'll consistently hear note after note after note playing, and that might drive you nuts, and also you flinch a little bit. So I don't know if you're into taking pictures of people flinching. Listen, this is a weird one for me, mainly because of the fact that I do love the digital red. I think it's something that we don't see too much of. We see a lot of blue digitized, but we don't really see a lot of this red digital imagery. So I do like it for that because it is a really niche kind of like look, and you get this cool laser that like goes around, so you can time it just right where the laser is coming right at you or something like that. However, I do find it a little bit limiting, but I do want to show you something cool with Titania, because we know that Titania is one of the best frames out there. You can literally take close-up shots with now, and I mean, you know, maybe that's worth it. This one you can actually pick up from Cephalon Suda once you have completed the Octavia's Anthem quest, or I believe that somebody might be able to pick it up for you before you completed it. You can pick it up in the market, maybe do some trades for it. I'm not 100% sure if it is a requirement that you have it, but just be aware that it might be. And last but definitely not least is the Harrow Temple scene. This one is available from the Red Veil once you have completed the Chains of Harrow quest. Again, just like the other scenes, this one is tradable, but if someone could leave it in the comments below, do you need to have completed the quest in order for someone to trade it to you? That's the one thing that I'm not 100% on. So let's go ahead and just jump into a little bit of Razor Wing action. Now, I did want to point out that in this scene and the Sands of Inaro scene, you can spawn enemies in, but not in the Hunhouse Datascape one. The thing that I absolutely love about this temple scene is because it's the closest thing that we get to Orokin and Derelict when it comes to scenes. As you guys know, we don't have an Orokin, purely Orokin scene yet, nor do we have a Derelict scene. So this kind of mixes both with the flavor of the Red Veil, which this is like cool blood tree. I'm gonna call it the blood tree, and you can get some really awesome framing and some really nice shots with that. I think it looks absolutely epic. Like if you take a look at this right here, oh my god, it looks so Halloween-y. It looks so good for that. Now, as you can see, we can get some really good framing in some of these nooks and crannies. This is probably one of my favorite spots right here, is to kind of tuck yourself into the little tree area here and get like this cool, like epic fiery scene. It looks really nice. Real big fan of that one, but there are other places that you can isolate scenes out of. However, let's go ahead and move a little bit deeper into this, because it's all about getting in deep. We got some nice god arrays there too, if you like that kind of stuff. But now this part's a little bit hard to take shots in, like these little areas. It's a little bit tight, but you can figure out some nice kind of sets right in there. You'd have to turn on your 3-light setup in order to get yourself lit well, but come on, you just move a little bit further and you get blood pool. You cannot say no to that. This is like, listen, all of the metalheads and all the crazy gore lovers out there, this is like the perfect scene for you. This is absolutely fantastic. You can tuck yourself kind of in this corner right here if you just looking for that kind of like, I guess you would call it, what would you call this, rooty, veiny, kind of bloody scene. It's absolutely fantastic. And remember in the oh, I can't give away spoilers, but yeah, I'm gonna give away this one. Sorry, you made it this far. I told you if you didn't want spoilers. Our Warframes could not move past this spot, but they can now. Take a look at that. And we have this cool, you know, the cool god ray setup here too, which is always nice for background lighting, just in case you want that. Now, this is actually one of my favorite spots right here. Not this part, but this part. You know how I said that I love like geometric things and like concentric circles? This is like a really epic shot to kind of like take. I love how the colors gradiate from golden glow into like a deep red, and we can see all of the craziness in the background. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Definitely a shot that you should take. And the cool part about this too is we get a lot of the crazy, I'll call it bloodwood, the bloodwood in the background, but you can kind of isolate some shots where you get just this really crisp, clean, like temple look to it. It's absolutely freaking gorgeous. So you get the nice juxtaposition of all of this craziness, like all of this fire and brimstone and bloodiness, where you can isolate these just epic, dark, like really intense shots. but you can also kind of like isolate these areas out here, where you can get much cleaner shots, which don't look so, I guess you would say, gory or bloody, but you know, you can kind of flip the camera's perspective where you can get yourself some nice clean areas that don't necessarily have all the crazy bloodwood all over the place. I mean, you get some cool ground effects that are red, which might be interpreted as, you know, really, really dark or intimidating, but I think it's absolutely fantastic. This is one of the best scenes, and of course, you've got a little friend right over here, which you may or may not want in the picture. That's completely up to you, but you know, it's all about the way that you crop things, the way that you set up your lighting and all of that, but this is one of the best, if not the best, Captura scenes currently out there. So if you haven't already gotten it, this is definitely something that I think that you should pick up. I just love all of the different... I just love the juxtaposition that you can have. Something crisp and clean like that, and then flip it completely and have this weird, like, pagan setup. Great for Halloween, and you damn well know that D is probably going to be doing some sort of Halloween Captura contest. So definitely something to keep at the forefront of your mind. Really, really worth picking up. Now, because I did a pretty shit job of mentioning it as I was going through the video, I wanted to go ahead and mention all of the scenes that you could actually spawn enemies into, just in case you were planning some sort of action scene. So we've got the Color Key, the Corpus Ship Maintenance, the Grenier Forest Factory, Industry and Pump scenes, the Grenier Galleon Cargo, Harrow's Temple, Inaro's Tomb, and the Infested Hologram scene. So those are the only ones that you can currently spawn enemies into. Keep that in mind just in case you're planning on doing something special with them. So thank you to all of the people who managed to actually stick through the entire video, because I know that this was definitely a long one and my throat definitely hurts, and not for the usual fun reasons either. However, I would love it if you left it in the comments below which one your favorite scene is, and this is a very specific request. Let me know what scenes you guys would like to see in the future, mainly because of the fact that we still don't have Urokin scenes, we don't have Derelict scenes, we don't have the scenes on Jupiter or Europa, where there are definitely some things that are lacking. So let me know what scene you would like to see DE publish next. And that about does it for this video. So as always, love somebody, hurt nobody, and touch yo body. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye!